Hey everybody, hope everyone's having an amazing Tuesday. Just wanted to be able to talk to you guys today about naked and not ashamed. A lot of times, I think when I really think back about wanting to become an author, um, I remember just being 7 or 8 years old. I was an avid reader as a child, and I loved stories because I loved the ability to be able to transform and transcend. I also enjoyed the power of a story because I understood how it feels to be abused, and I know how it feels to feel powerless. And when you write, I just felt so powerful and so in control. And I think a lot of times when people suffer abuse, we grapple for control. And so when we talk about naked and not ashamed, we talk about a lot of different things. And so when we say the word naked, naked means a lot of different things to different people. Some people can hear the word naked and feel a sense of empowerment. They can feel liberation. They can feel inspired. Other people may hear the word naked and they may feel shame, or they may feel fear, or they may feel a sense of loneliness or loss. So same word, but has various meanings to different people depending on their walks of life. And so I'm just going to be reading some excerpts about the book Naked and Not Ashamed, and I'll just be talking you guys kind of through that. So in the introduction, it says, when we begin this journey called life, we each start our existence naked. And although we all have our unique paths to travel, we're all brought to roads that leave us in varying stages of undress. And ultimately, when we end this life, people will attempt to cover us up in delicate undergarments and elaborate clothes, desperately attempting to conceal our bare frame one last time. But after the casket closes and time begins to take its dreaded course, our bodies will decay away until only piles of dirt are irreverently mingled in with our burial clothes. And there we will lie naked. Um, I just think that, again, nakedness means so many different things to different people. And life is a journey. The first time that I can really ever remember feeling, a sense of nakedness, I felt shame, and I felt a sense of loss, and I felt exposed. And now, as I'm growing and as I'm maturing, nakedness is becoming different, to have a different meaning and a different connotation entirely. So let me get to the first chapter. Let me back up. A lot of people ask me, well, Chanelle, why did you want to write a book? Well, I've always wanted to write a book. Since I was about like 7 or 8 years old, I wanted to see my name across the front of a book cover. And my name was Chanelle Coleman. And so I'm like, one day I'm going to see my name on a book. And it was such an amazing experience to actually see that come into fruition. It took me much longer than what I actually wanted it to take. I was, like I said, 7 or 8 years old at the time when I was wanting to become an author, and I didn't actually complete that journey until I became 45 years old. So it took a long time to actually come into fruition because sometimes, hey, life can just get in the way. But I was able to realize my dreams and see something that I wanted to come into fruition. So that was really amazing. So, this story, the first story of this, talks about the story of Eve and the serpent in the garden. So, I'm going to read just a little small excerpt from that, and then I'll do some little talk on that, and then we'll go to our next chapter, and we'll see what we can get out of today's kind of conversation. So, we have a naked conversation. So, it says, so I imagine this conversation began. Let me go back. Sorry. Nope, nope, nope. I'm jumping. Okay. Day one, naked in deception, and the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Genesis 3:7. Of all the places within the garden and this great big world of ours, Eve could have chosen to roam. Her footsteps led her to the forbidden tree. It stood there in all of its majesty, its marvelous branches with gorgeous leaves that seemed to wave in the sun, its exquisite bark was artistically designed with engravings that would make Picasso, Da Vinci, and Michelangelo throw down their paintbrush. The outstretched branches were adorned with ripe, succulent fruit that hung from its luxurious limbs. In a word, it was magnificent. Standing there in all its regal glory, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Amazed, she began to wonder how a tree this extraordinary could be forbidden. Satan knew it was time to act. It's hard to imagine, but before the curse, the serpent was one of the most beautiful creatures made. That's why it was chosen as Satan's medium. The Bible does not record every word like a court transcript, only the highlights. So I imagine this conversation began with flattery and playful banter, like all conversations with snakes. The controversy, however, began with this simple question: did God really say you can't eat the fruit of any tree in the garden? The question sounded so incredible, it prompted her to provide a response. We can eat the fruit of every tree except this one. The serpent perched itself up as its magnificent wings dazzled in the sun, and its tail casually lay in between the tree's branches. Its scales glistened as he sat there leisurely eating the forbidden fruit with seemingly no consequence. Genesis 3:1. Instead of running away from the tree with her arms flailing, she made a conscious decision to engage in a conversation with this exquisite creature about the forbidden tree. She had never met anyone quite like him. As the two continued to talk, she saw his intelligence, quick wit, charm, knowledge, and sophistication, attributes he swore came from this tree. Although the two had just met, it seemed as if they had known each other forever. And they became fast friends. He saw things in her that she never realized about herself. She was mesmerized. There was something about him that seemed so authentic, genuine. Their conversation awakened desires within her she never knew existed. If these abilities were effects of the tree, why would God forbid them to have it? Why? The serpent questioned. Why can't you eat the fruit from this tree? Her answer was simple. If we eat it, we will die. She stated. But you won't die, he replied. Subtly, he introduced a different ideology to her. What was death? Was death the end? Something final like God had suggested? Or was it the beginning? The opportunity for rebirth, an awakening, an enlightenment? He insinuated that the knowledge that God was withholding from her was all powerful, all knowing, transformative, dynamic, and godlike. Genesis 3, 4, and 5. Satan spoke to her about living life without limitations. He was offering her the opportunity to be free, to live a life on her own terms. When she first wandered away from her husband's side, certainly she felt some awkwardness, some sense of alarm, but she quickly reassured herself that she was more than capable of handling herself on her own. Here she was on this chance encounter with this incredible being, a presumed friend that presented possibilities that excited her imagination, unlocking a path to transcend a cause higher than herself. Could she really become a goddess? What he was offering would be a legacy of her greatness for generations to come. His words had her spellbound. Man would now become a god, and it will all be accredited to her. There was a small voice telling her not to listen to the serpent, but that voice was drowned out by everything that the serpent had shown her. He was the proof to his fascinating claims. After all, seeing is believing, isn't it? She began to question everything she'd ever known to be true. Why would God want to keep this knowledge from them? Was it because he wanted to keep this power all to himself? Or perhaps it was a test to prepare to see if they were genuinely worthy of attaining enlightenment. If the tree had given these powers and abilities to a simple beast, imagine what it could do to the two most phenomenal human beings to ever walk the planet. The story provides us with an impressive illustration of this simple truth. By beholding, we become changed. When we began this story, Eve viewed the tree as a vehicle that would bring the curse of certain death and destruction. But now she saw it as a gift that would bring illumination and would elevate her status from human to goddess. She could become immortal. He had awakened within her a desire that she decided would not be denied. Emboldened, she took hold of the fruit and took a bite. Feelings of exhilaration, excitement, and a heavy dose of adrenaline made her feel more alive than she had ever felt before. Surely these must be the initial effects of eating the fruit. Satan had accomplished the first part of his plan, but now he needed her to act as his accomplice and complete his objective. Satan knew Adam would have never eaten the fruit without the right incentive. If he was going to get Adam to disobey God, he would need Eve's help. The enemy now needed her to unknowingly play the role of temptress. He imagined Adam would remember his short existence without her by his side, and he hoped the thought of losing her would be enough to goad him into breaking God's law. She was the perfect patsy. She believed everything he told her. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I see that we have a special guest. I'm just saying that. Hey, gorgeous. How are you?
Oh my goodness. Hello. Hello. That was beautiful. I was enjoying your reading.
Oh, well, first of all, we have the amazing Miss Laquita Parks. This woman is phenomenal, phenomenal. We got to stop right here and back up and let's just give a round of applause for this amazing author and publisher.
Oh wow.
She
You are
is
just
so
too kind.
no, nothing needs to be said. We are so happy to have you on.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I did want to be able to highlight some of your accolades and some of your story with your bio. Just give me a second
Okay.
momentarily, but you look amazing as always.
Oh, thank you. You are so beautiful. You are so kind. I was actually enjoying that. I love it. I love your book.
I'm loving your book, and I'm telling you, I have some questions about that book. Let me and I said I'm gonna probably have it all the way read by tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah,
just
it's an
faster.
easy read. It's a
It
quick
really
read.
is. I can't wait to finish reading and give my review.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
I can't wait. So let me read some of Laquita's accolades. Laquita is the founder, CEO, and facilitator of a Failure to Communicate mentoring program, as well as a relationship communication coach and mentor with a passion for people and their well-being. Laquita is also the founder and facilitator of Exhale, a social communication group for women who meet to discuss different issues ranging from personal to political. Laquita has a degree in business and has been planning and facilitating successful mentoring and communication sessions for nearly 20 years throughout the state of Georgia. She sits on the board of directors for Premier Academy, a nonprofit organization specializing in early childhood education and development, and has also been volunteering with the Junior Achievement of Georgia for the last 8 years. Laquita enjoys working with young ladies through her mentoring program by teaching them the importance of self love, self respect, positive attitudes, and self awareness. I'm gonna just say stop right there. I mean, because we could go on. This woman is phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. Laquita, like I said before, you just look amazing, and we're so happy to have you
Thank
on
you.
Her Purpose. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about purpose. And so, this amazing book, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, my kids in my mentoring program did. I didn't market the book. I've shared that before on some other platforms. I never marketed the book, but I wrote the book because it was an outlet for me,
Mm,
and I decided to publish because I wanted the young people that I was mentoring to know if I can do it, you can do it. The only thing that limits you is you.
yes.
And that was really the inspiration. It gave me an outlet. Writing gives you an outlet. It's
Mhm.
therapeutic. It gave me a chance to put my thoughts on paper without being interjected or having people to impose their thoughts into my thinking, or if I'm trying to share my story, having them to interrupt my story with thoughts of their own, and it's my story, and I find myself saying, well, we were talking about me, but okay. And I typically would just kind of be quiet and let people just continue and take over my story. So writing gave me a chance to own my own story.
I love it. That is so empowering. I love it. So, the title of your book is truly fascinating for many different reasons. So, what or whom provided the inspiration for the title?
Walking limitation. Well, when I was 4 years old, I went into the hospital to have my tonsils removed, and
Hmm.
I was given a shot of penicillin in my sciatic nerve, and it poisoned the bone in my leg. And so that's where my walking limitations started. But with the story, so that's why I came up with the title Walking Limitations, because physically I'm limited. I'm not able to walk long periods. I'm not able to stand long periods of time. I deal with swelling because I have some issues stemming from the jab when I was 4 years old.
Hmm.
And that led to 14, 15 surgeries on my right leg and foot. And that those surgeries led to some other things that happened because of that jab. So I was limited in my walking. Any time I could be on crutches today, I could be in a wheelchair, I could be on a walker, I could be with a cane. So I'm limited in my walking. And so I titled it Walking Limitations. And then I thought, that there are walking limitations, but then I decided to add the subtitle, but
Yeah.
by other people's definition.
I love that.
So that goes back to I decided I didn't want people to limit me. So
Mhm.
in the book I talk about the walking limitations that I had no control over, and
Right.
then I talk about the walking limitations that I did have control over, the ones
Mm,
that I put on myself. So
yes.
that's where the inspiration for the title came.
I mean, I love it. Just the play on words is like just a W, and double innuendo. It just really is very powerful. I'm like, but how does she come up with that? I mean, it's just really very catchy. You know what I mean? It just like pulls you in. Like, well, what is it about? What type of limitations? Are these actual physical limitations, or are these something that we're just talking about as far as life experiences? Those
Both.
mental limitations. I mean, just
Both.
all of those things,
Mhm,
it just kind of pulls you in from the
mhm,
onset. Like,
mhm,
got to know
mhm,
more what
mhm.
these limitations are. So, how are you redefining your walking limitations?
So, oh my goodness. It's funny because as I grow and as I continue to go through life and still deal with these walking limitations, I went to the Mayo Clinic right before the pandemic hit in November, December of 2020. No, 2019, and
Mhm.
January, February 2020, I was at the Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
And on that last, so it was 4 months I spent back and forth at the Mayo Clinic. And the last month that I was there, the doctor said to me, while you're not dying, you are suffering. And
Mm.
I didn't even hear the diagnosis. All I heard was you're not suffering. And in my head, I'm thinking, no, because I've always been a stubborn person,
Okay.
and my family will say I was very quiet, very shy. I was bullied. I never, fought
Mm.
back. My sister, I had a younger sister. She bullied me. She bullied me too. I never fought back, and so I found my voice. And when I found my voice, I started, still nice. I'm still very nice. But now you got to get up pretty early in the morning
Yes.
to pull one over on me, or to think that you're going to speak to me in a kind of way.
I
So
like
I
it.
started learning. I started learning, finding my voice, and deciding that I no longer wanted to be the victim.
Yeah.
So as a child, when this leg, the injury happened to my leg, I was a victim. I didn't have any control over that. Every surgery that I went through, every surgery, and then I got married and I started putting limitations on myself. I was a victim and I behaved like a victim.
Mm.
And I decided that, you know what, I want to behave like a big victim because victims get victim treatment.
Mm.
So victims they don't get that you're strong. They get the
Thank
woo
you.
woo. They get the
Yes.
the poor mouth and then the pity. And I don't like pity. I never liked pity, and I didn't like people to pacify me. I didn't like the whoa whoa woo woo woo. I didn't like that at all. So I didn't want to be the victim because I had a victim mentality.
Mm.
And I allowed people, when you're a victim, Chanelle, people treat you like a victim and they give you the crumbs.
They,
So when you're at the table, they know that you're not gonna say, give me that or I want that. They know that you're gonna accept what they're giving you.
yes.
So I had my children and I had gone through a nasty, ugly divorce, and I needed help. So when people came and gave me the hand-me-down, so to speak, and there's nothing wrong with hand-me-downs, girl, because
No.
I'm a thrifter.
Right. Yeah.
I
And
love
nothing.
going to the thrift stores. But when people would give me what they thought I needed, or when I was in need of something, I allowed them to treat me any kind of way because I didn't want them to withdraw their support.
Mm.
And so I was a victim. I didn't get child support from my ex-husband, and it was me trying to raise 3 kids by myself. And I was determined that I was going to be their role model.
Mm.
So in order to do that, I decided that, you know what, you can't be the victim. You're going to have to not be the victim. You're going to have to figure it out, girl, not be the victim. So in learning how to figure it out for myself, I started, saying, you know what, my children are seeing this. And I want my children, the strength that they see, I want them to see that from me. So with walking limitations, I start finding my voice. After 20 years out of high school, I decided when I was a child, when I graduated from high school, I told my family I wasn't college material. So they were like, okay. My sister, however, she graduated 1 year before me, and she went to college. They encouraged her to go to college, and they was very proud of her. She graduated with a degree in journalism. She's actually one of my editors. They pushed her. But when I said I don't think I'm college material, they were like, okay. So I was the weakest link. They was like, here, this girl, and I had all this surgery. Now they didn't accept my being spoiled. They wouldn't accept the whining and all that, girl. No, they didn't play that. My grandmother didn't play that, but they didn't push me. And so when I graduated from high school, I didn't go to college. I was just trying to, figure it out. I met somebody who was like, "Hey, pretty girl," and said all the right things. And I, got in a relationship with him, got pregnant, then married him. Okay. And
Understood.
we were married for 13 years. And I'm like, okay, I did not know at that time that I would be in this space, but I do know now that I'm in this space. That time was preparing me for this space
Mm.
because I'm not the same person now than I was then.
Sorry, but I'm getting some backdrop in the back.
So I decided that, you know what, I am college material. So after 20 years, I went back to school. When I got my college degree, and it was so funny because while I'm in school, I went to adult education, so adult learning where you do learning teams, and I'm a team player, but I'm not the one to follow you into a ditch. So I didn't know at that time that I was the leader. I know that I was a leader and the head of my household, but with other people, I wasn't quite I didn't grasp it. I knew that I was, but I didn't grasp it. And I went to school, and they started doing learning teams, and they did the ABC method. All the A's go here, all the B's go here, all the C's go here. And that first class, I was like, had somebody was on the team, and they were like, I don't care what I get as long as I pass. It can be a C or a D. And I'm like, no, that's not my thoughts. Like, failure is not an option.
Right.
It's not an option.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I didn't accept it for my children, so I knew I wasn't going to accept it for myself. And I was, they say trust but verify. So I was just kind of observing. I was like, okay, I'm not feeling this team thing. And we had another class, and they did the 1, 2, 3 method. All the ones go here, all the twos go here, all the threes go here. And the same thing, I ended up on another team with a couple of people, and I was kind of looking at them side-eyed, and they probably were looking at me like who she thinks she is. But I'm coming back to school after 20 years. I'm taking this thing seriously because
Right.
failure is not an option. So that third class, they said, okay, you know what? Go and write on the board whose team you want to be on. And if you see somebody write their name, and you want to be on a team with them, put their name put your name under theirs. Well, when it was my time, Chanelle, what do you think I did?
You put it on the people that you thought would be good for your no?
I didn't. I put my name on the board by itself. I didn't put my name up under anybody's
Get
name.
out of here.
Not. And
What did
that
your instructor say?
my instructor didn't say anything, but guess what? There was one white guy in the classroom,
Hmm.
and he got up right behind me and he put his name up under my name.
I know that's right.
Lady that I was on the team with the first go round, she put her name under my name.
Mm.
Another lady put her name under they put their names, and we stayed on the same team until we graduated. And that was in the
Wow.
that was in the associates program. Then when we went to the bachelor's program, we all stayed on the team, and we called ourselves the disciples because failure was not an option. So, and the guy, his name was Steve, and he said to me, he said, I was waiting to see where you were going to put your name because I knew that that's where I wanted my name to go. And I became the class leader for the whole 5 years that was in school. And I was like, okay, you know what? I could not see putting my name under people's names that felt like, okay, you know what? As long as I pass, that's never my style. I don't want to
Mm-mm.
be a part of anything that's going to be messy. So I want to be on a team, and when I'm on a team, I'm a working part of the team, not just a part of the team where I'm getting the accolades, because people do that. They
Mhm.
want to, oh, I'm a part of this team because they get the accolades, but when it's time to do the work, he's like, okay, well, where'd Laquita go? I thought she was over
Right.
here. So that's me, and
That
I'm
is
still
so
learning myself.
bold and so daring. You know what I mean? Because like if he's telling you to put it under somebody's name and people have already gone, you would just assume that people would just follow suit and
Mm-hmm.
go under the one of the names versus starting a whole new column. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that took some guts and that definitely took some redefining some limitations. So that was just really amazing. I mean,
Yes.
good for you. I love that. I'm gonna have to tell my kids that story.
Be the leader, honey. Be the
Yeah,
leader.
I mean, because it's just it just really shows your your tenacity and your growth. And so, what really made things click for you to be able to transition in your mindset from a victim to a survivor? Because there has to be a moment where the light comes on and you acknowledge, okay, it's this, but I don't like this, and so I needed to be able to be changed and to be something else. And I know that story for myself. So, what was your moment that kind of made that transition for you?
So the moment that transition came for me was, there were several, but one of the defining moments was when I went through an ugly divorce, and my son, we went to the store, where my ex-husband worked, and because he promised to, a few dollars. He wouldn't pay in child support. He promised a few dollars, and I had promised the kids that I would take them to the movies with that money. And so I got in the store, and he, it was at his job, and he said, he asked me, where y'all going? And I said, that's not your business.
Mm.
You don't have the right to ask me that. And so he just basically said, well, if you're not gonna tell me where y'all going, I ain't giving you nothing. And so I felt defeated at that moment, Chanelle.
Mm.
And so I turned around, and I had my babies. I had, my 3 kids. I turned around and I put them in, my oldest one. My youngest one was still in the cart at that time, so she was probably 4 or 5 years old. So I put her in the cart, and I said, okay, we're gonna we're going to go, we're going to leave. And so I was walking out the store and something said, no, you're not. No, you're not. And so all I had in my pocket was bill money. So I turned around and I told my oldest daughter, I said, grab a cart. And she grabbed the cart and I put the 4-year-old, the 5-year-old at the time in the cart. And we started shopping. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And so my son, so he was still in the store. And he called my son to the next aisle. And so I looked around, my son's gone, and I'm like, where is he? And so he's on the other aisle. So I'm like, we're literally playing tug of war with this boy. My son's 8 years old.
Mm.
We're playing tug of war with him. And I'm like, and all of a sudden I snapped. I'm like, somebody in this store gonna tell me why y'all employees are harassing. And so they must have saw what was going, so they called him to come to the office. But
Mm.
my son was so shaken, he was just crying, crying. And
Uh,
Chanelle, I took that moment and I told my son, I said, let me tell you something. I said, your dad is wrong.
mm.
He is wrong. I said, there are only two people in this world that's obligated to take care of you. That's me and your dad. And we are the two people obligated to take care of you until the day to your hours, until the day we die or the
Right.
day you die. I
Right.
said, and he is wrong. Your dad is wrong. I said, and wrong deserves no tears.
Mm.
So dry your face and let's get it. Let's get it. Wrong deserves no tears. And my son, unfortunately, he was 8 years old at the time, but he learned a valuable lesson that carries him. He learned a lesson, and I grew up that day.
Mm.
And I realized that if I needed whatever my children needed, I had to get it for them. Whatever I needed, nobody was going to come and give it to me. Nobody was going to save me. And having a mentality of victim wasn't going to help. And I was a victim, though. That's the thing. I really was a victim. But victims don't have to continue to be the victims. We
Yeah.
don't have a choice. That's somebody else having the power. So that day I started to take my power back.
Mm.
It was little bit by little bit. I don't know how. I just little bit by little bit. I started, and then I started. When my kids were like, "Mama," when I went to school, and I went back to school and got my college degree, and I made the dean's list. I stayed on the dean's list the entire time I was there. I
Mm.
would tell my children, if I can go to school and work, if I can work a full-time job and go to school for
Right.
and make straight A's, surely you guys can do something. You guys don't bring no C's in my house.
I know that's right. That's definitely incentive.
Yes. So it was hard. It was a struggle, but I started finding my voice. I knew that there were women who felt like me.
Mm.
So I founded the Exhale, Women of Exhale group.
I love it.
And it wasn't a waiting to exhale that y'all bashing me. And no, it wasn't that type of group.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was one where we talked about different issues. I would put together a topic and we would meet and once a month and we would talk about it. One topic was, if you're tired, what to do.
Mm.
And there were women of all ages and of all backgrounds that came together. And I would share you what do I do when I get tired? What do you do, Chanelle, when you get tired? And we would do that. And the next one, we would have another topic. And the next one, we would have another topic. And I did that for years. And then my children, I did mentoring programs. I did programs for couples communication coaching programs. And you know how your children be your free your free labor. My children were my free labor. And I remember going out of town to do a communication, a couples communication group. And my daughter and her friend went as the free labor. And on the way back, my daughter said, "Can you do one of these for my friends and I?" And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Can you do something like this for my friends and I?" And I was like, "Well, what?" And I never thought about that before. And I was like, "Well, what about your friends?" And they were in 11th grade. And I realized that they're graduating. They're getting ready to graduate. Some of them don't want to go to college. Some of them felt like they were not college
Mm.
material. They
Wow.
had no idea what to do. They were dealing with some of the same things, but on a different level, and they didn't know what to do. So that year, I planned my first teenage convocation, and I
Yes.
did it in my living room. I had 17 teenagers in my living room, and when I tell you, they broke it down. and they talked about the pressure, peer pressure, and the pressure to have sex, the pressure to be like somebody else. And that's when my Beauty Redefined program was, it was started. I birthed Beauty Redefined, where we redefine the beauty from hair to toe, because we're both Black women, but we look alike. We look different. Our skin, our skin complexions may look similar, but we look different. My hair looks different. My size is different. The makeup of my face is different. There's a reason for that. It's more than, well, I'm large because maybe I eat a lot. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe that's my genetic makeover.
Right.
Maybe my hair is tightly waved because that's the texture of my heritage. Maybe I'm fair skinned or I'm dark skinned. It's for a reason. And teaching people not to look at the outer appearance of a person to judge what they should look like, but loving themselves from the inside out. And as I was teaching them, it was selfish because I started learning myself, and I
Mhm.
started doing some affirmations. I wrote a book. Book of affirmations, and this is the proof,
Mhm.
it's already out, but it's Affirmations of Beauty Redefined.
I love
and,
it.
and
Yeah.
I just started saying, and my favorite is still, I stand and I look at myself in the mirror and I say, I love myself. I love
Yes.
myself. And I did that with my teens, with my girls. And I would say, I would give them a mirror. I had keep a mirror at my desk. I would give them a mirror, and I would say, look in the mirror and say, I love myself. And Chanelle, they start with, I love myself. I love myself. But by the time we got through, honey, we got, I love myself. I love myself.
I love it.
And you would be reassured that, hey, you can say what you want to say about me, but I love me. And I have three of the most positive love myself children that you can ever
Mhm.
on the planet. They don't care. I have three kids, three different shades, three different sizes, and they love each other and they love themselves. So I just practice it, and it works. It works because they were my guinea pigs and I was my own guinea pig. And it works. It works. So that's my story, girl, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow. And I love it. I think that's so empowering. And that brings me to another question. So, because your story started with the nurse in the medical field making this mistake. And so, and it's sometimes, especially it's hard to talk, to doctors or people in the medical profession and say that something went wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that was unheard of, years ago. What the doctor said was really law. And so, just the fact that you were able to speak to power, and to acknowledge that, hey, that this happened. How has that situation or ordeal allowed you to be able to empathize with others? Because you truly are a people person, and you really do take on, seems like, the issues or the different things or
Mhm.
struggles that others are facing. How did that really kind of impact you to be able to empathize with others and try to give them a voice?
That's a really good question. And when I first started doing mentoring and coaching, one of the things I loved about my mentoring program is that it required parental involvement. So not only did I have a chance to mentor the young person, I had a chance to mentor the parent. It was a requirement for my program. I was able to empathize with them because I've been through so much.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I had to learn from my coach, and I have coaches and mentors myself, but one of the things that I had to learn really early on was I can't fall in the ditch with them. So I can't get so far down with them that I can't, I'm in the ditch, and I'm in the ditch, they in the ditch. And if we both in the ditch, who gonna pull us out?
Mm-mm.
So I had to make sure that where I took in their story, it didn't live in me. I didn't allow it to live in me. So I would, I had an outlet, had to have an outlet of my own, not to share somebody else's business, but to talk through my stuff and to say, okay, what am I doing here? Because I needed to be able to speak intelligently to what they were going through and share my story so that they would know that I understand. I did a mentoring program for these women. They were sex. It was a sex traffic. These women had been sex trafficked They aged in range. They range in age from 18 to 62. The oldest one was 62 years old. I did this program for about 6 weeks. I did my Beauty Redefined program, and we would go on a Saturday morning. I would take my team on a Saturday morning, and I taught them to write their stories. Right.
Mm.
So I would go in, and at that time, I was supposed to be. I had braces on. I was supposed to be not on my feet, no standing. I was supposed to be in the bed, but I made a commitment, and
Wow.
this happened after I made the commitment that I had a flare. I went into a flare. But I went every Saturday. I was there, and so they would drag in, and they would, the ladies would, and I went to their this location where they were housed, and beautiful, beautiful location. I mean, the rooms. I mean, look, their house, it looked better than mine.
Mm.
Very nice, the best, everything donated, brand new refrigerator, brand new floors, bedding. Everybody had their own room. It was just beautiful. And so, we were sharing, they were dragging in at 9 o'clock, and, half not wanting to do the activity. And so I said to them, I said, you don't know what another person's sacrifice is for you to
Right.
be here. Somebody has sacrificed something for you to be here. And so I have a little book. It's a mini walking limitations. I thought I had it right here next to me. It's just mini, where I can share the walking limitation story in less than an hour, and probably
Mm.
like 30 minutes. So I did a short book. I thought I had it here, but I read that story to them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they were sitting there with their mouths open. They were in awe. And one of the people that was with me said, um, I said, you guys don't know. And I typically wear long dresses, so they couldn't see my legs. And I showed my legs, and I told them, um, I said, would you believe that I've had 14? Said, oh, no. Would you believe that? And I just kind of started that. And then I shared my story. And when I tell you, not one woman had anything to say. They were sitting there and their mouths were open.
Wow.
And I said to them, I said, it's a sacrifice to be here. It's not just for me. And I'm not saying that for you to feel sorry for me, but when you get up and somebody's doing an activity for you that's going to help better your life, don't complain. Don't whine, don't moan about it. And from that day until the end of the program, those women were there. They were on time. They showed up. They showed out. They participated.
Good.
They met me at my car. What can we do for you?
I
Can we
love it.
and because I shared my story with them.
That's the power
And
of the story, though.
exactly, that's the power. So I shared my story, and I don't complain. I hurt every day. I don't know a day without pain. But if I don't tell you, you don't know it, because I don't complain. I don't say, I'm hurting while I'm sitting here talking to you. That's the case. That's truly the case. But I don't complain, because anything that I'm doing outside of focusing on me, focusing on my pain, it's kind of like the pain's not there because I don't think about it. So it has enabled me to be able to, everything that has happened to me is not, I can't, there's no control. I have no control over it. It happened. I was the victim. I was a victim when the nurse jabbed me in the thigh. I was a victim when, I married a man who was sometimes physically abusive, definitely verbal abusive, mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. I was a victim. And so when people tell me their stories, no, I don't know the addiction story, but I was close. I could have known the addiction story, but I didn't. I don't know that part of the story. But I know the being bullied. I know the being crippled. I know the pain story. I know the discrimination story. I know the abuse story. I know those stories. I know being discriminated because people will look at me and say, I'm a big girl. I must be lazy. I must eat all the time. I know that I've worked in an area where I was the only Black person, and people took that for granted and thought that because I was the only Black person, they could talk to me or say whatever. But they learned very quick that I know how to teach people how to treat me.
Mm.
So,
That's important.
so I started not only taking that on my, on myself, teaching myself that. But, I also started, being the person that I wanted to see. Didn't want to be a victim. So Pain, Progress, Victory with Pay-Per-View Publishing, that's
Mhm.
that's the story of my life. It's a story of my life. So I coach and I develop people and I mentor people. I mentor young people. And in June, Chanelle, I'm so excited. We will celebrate 10 years of a failure to communicate mentoring programs.
I
And
love it. Congratulations.
thank you. I'm a little nervous because this is the first time that I haven't actively been planning my own celebrations. My first two mentees have come together and they are planning the celebration. I have
Let
no
them
idea.
plan it.
And
Let
so,
them
right. So I'm like,
that.
y'all, they had a meeting on Sunday, and I tried to log into the meeting, and I was like, okay, well, what happened? They said, Miss Laquita, we finished. I was like, okay, okay. So I'm so proud of them. They're both in their 20s now. One of them started as my mentee when she was 12 years old, and the other one was 14 years old. And so I have my this program is tried and proven, and it's successful. I have my kids have graduated. My own children were in the program.
Mm,
They've graduated. One of them is going, getting her working on her doctorate right now.
wow.
So I love it. So I've been able to use my pain to help other people through their victory, if you can say it like that.
That's a great. I mean, you definitely can. I love it. Now, let me ask this question. I think all authors would like to believe their book is for everyone.
Mhm.
We both know that that's not true, right? So, who is this book for? Who is this book? Who does this book speak to?
This book speaks to anybody who has been through a trauma, whether it's medical trauma, whether it's an abuse, anybody that has been through a trauma. And because of that trauma, they have either been counted out or they've counted themselves out.
Mm,
Um, this book is for single parents who are going through raising their children and find themselves, especially single mothers, find themselves in the snares of relationships and getting involved with, the wrong people for the sake of, loneliness. It's for that young person who feels like they have no place and nobody understands them. That's who this book is for.
mm.
That's who it's for.
I love it. Now, will there be a part two?
Actually, there will be a part two. I actually just
Okay.
I
Y'all heard
actually
it here
just
first. Y'all heard it here first.
I actually and actually just signed the contract to do an enhanced audio book for Walking
Amazing.
Limitations.
Love it.
Yes, that's going to be interesting. That so
Great.
we'll do Walking Limitations, the enhanced audio version, and
Mm.
then I'm working on part two. I'm still thinking of. I think I call. I'm thinking I'm gonna call it. Don't quote me on this, y'all. I think I'm gonna call it Trained by Pain.
You've been saying that.
Yeah,
You've been saying that. I
yeah.
think that I like that. I
So I
like
think
that.
that's going to be the part two, and then we'll tell in part one, and you'll read that. I talk a little bit about my mom, but I didn't tell a lot of her story. But this is not her story. The Walking Limitations is not her story. I think I'm going to incorporate more of my mom's story and my dad's story into this second
Mm.
part. And until, because there are a lot of people, I do coaching, and I incorporated some of the coaching in that book. There are some fun phrases that I had that I really love. One is, you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can surely stop him from building a nest in your hair.
I love it. I love it. I
So,
love it.
so that's what I call a Laquita-ism.
You have a lot of them. I've been hearing them. And I've been enjoying them too. I've been taking them like I love the way her mind thinks. We just have some similar thoughts, and that's why the Bible just tell you it's nothing new under the sun. But I do want to say this before we go. I mean, because you come from, you're so multi-talented. You're an author, you're a publisher. You're a mentor, you're a coach. You're wearing so many hats. I want you to first of all tell people where they can get Walking Limitations, and then secondly, if they have a story, because they really need to connect with you on Pay-Pro-V so that you can be able to help them get their stories out. So first, tell us where they can get Walking Limitations, how they can follow you,
Okay.
and lastly but not least, if they have a book that they want to get out, then how they can connect with you and what that process will look like.
Okay. So walking limitations, you can pick up walking limitations. You can get it from my website, and that's payprovipublishing.com, PAPROVI publishing.com. Walking limitations is also available on Amazon. It's available in paper copy as well as audio. I'm not audio. I'm sorry, as well as ebook on Amazon. If you connect with me through and you purchase the book through the website, I'll personally ship it to you, but I'll also autograph the book for you.
Mhm.
Um, if you have a story, 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. And no matter where you are in your story writing journey, I can help you. If you're just getting started and you have a thought, you have an idea, and you do, then I can, and it's Pay-Pro-V. I see that it's payprovipublishing.com. So I can help you get started. Take that story from a thought to a realization. If you have already started and you just kind of stuck, where am I going to go from here? I can help you get unstuck. And if you have, you got everything together and you're ready to publish, I can help you do that too. We have packages to meet every financial need. And that's Pay-Pro-V Publishing, PAPROVI publishing.com. And we can get started today.
I love it because I'm gonna be starting with Laquita because Laquita's gonna format my book. She definitely is, and so I'm gonna be connecting with Laquita. So you guys make sure you guys connect with Laquita too, because she's amazing. All the things that she has. But again, I just want to thank the lovely Laquita Parks for just stopping by taking time out of her busy schedule to join us and bless us with her presence on tonight. You guys do not want to miss this book, Walking Limitations. You got to get it. It's a must read. It's a simple read. You are going to kick yourself if you don't read this book. There it is.
Welcome.
That's the book. And it's actually she's also the author of the month for Black women authors, and so we just are so
Yes, thank
proud
you.
of our lovely Laquita. So you guys go out and get her book today. But if you're trying to write your story, connect with Laquita because she can help you from A to Z, whatever you need. Check her out on paperpublishing.com. Well, Laquita, I guess it's our time to say goodbye to everybody. But so goodbye, everybody, and
Goodbye, everybody.
and
Thank you so much for having me. Thank
thank you
you.
so much for showing up. We appreciate you.